Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time we are on the Chaos Way, playing as the forces of the Tomb Kings against the forces of the Wood Elves. And we're in for an interesting game because in this situation, we're actually outnumbered by the Wood Elves. It's very rare that you see a Wood Elf army with over 1,000 troops. And that's what my opponent pulled off here, so it's definitely going to be an interesting one. Now for my build here, I decided to do something a bit generic. This is kind of my standard. If I had a standard build against Wood Elves, sometimes I like to throw a few light cav in, but for my Lord running Ark in the Black, there isn't really much to be said here. I think he's probably the most decent in this match. You can try other stuff, I guess, like a Tomb King on foot with like Silver Shield or something, but he does give you Soul Blight. We've got Fate of Buna in case my opponent went with Wild Riders, units like that. We do have Spirit Leech, of course, to knock down cavalry models or weaken Lords. Tomb Blade of Arkan for those skelly summons, as well as the Liber Mortis, granting a nice physical resist and leadership boost in an area, which is really nifty. Now, alongside him, we do have two Tomb Princes. I find these guys to be pretty good. You can bring them on a chariot as well. One of them does have the Guardian trait. Both of them are equipped with the Blade of Setep, a great debuff, especially to help counter trees, which are fairly common in this match, if your opponent goes with more melee-centric builds. Tomb Strike causes terror. Always nice to have a source of terror. And then we do have the Curse of Joff, which induces Rampage for a bit, and does reduce any melee attack, which is really, really nice. Now, besides that, well, frontline is simply Tomb Guard. These guys are incredibly good against, or in fact, Tomb Guard's right here and here. 3 units of Tomb Guard, not much to be said for them. They are very solid against Wood Elves. They can put the beat down on basically everything cost-effectively, except War Dancers, I think. I haven't tested them against War Dancers 1v1, but I'm fairly sure they even trade well there. Silver Shields also make them very resilient to Wood Elf Archery, which is of course very important. Now, besides that, it's simply a bunch of Skelly Spears, mostly there to zone away Wild Riders and the likes of that. And then finally, we do have 3 units of Ushapti Greatbows. These guys can match Way Watchers for range. They can put the pressure on big single entities. They can whittle down trees, that sort of thing. While your infantry can deal with enemy infantry, these guys can really deal with everything else. Now for my opponent, like I mentioned, he went super wide, and I'm not even going to sure how many Eternal Guard with shields and without shields we've got here, because that's basically his entire army is Eternal Guard. Can see he's got just a bajillion Eternal Guard. I think he does have a full 6 Eternal Guards with shields. He also does have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh yeah, he's got the full 6 and 6. So he's got 12 units of Eternal Guard. He also does have Orion, the King in the Woods, coming in. Orion does have both of his spells, Hawk's Talon, as well as Owens of Orion. He's got Foe Seeker. He also does have the Cloak of Isha. Behind them, they are being supported by a whole bunch of Glade Guard, 3 units of them, as well as single unit Glade Guard with Hagbane tips for the poison. And then finally, there is a heavily chevron up Tree Man, which is a bit of an oddball choice. Personally, not what I would probably recommend against Tomb Kings, because their Shabti are a huge threat. The Tree Man can obviously stop and kind of deal with big monsters to an extent, especially with this many chevrons, but I think it's not really the way to go. I think you could probably get 2 Way Watchers for the price of this Tree Man. Now, besides that, you can see Hawk's Talon there. It does go down to my Skelly Spears and does basically nothing. In the meantime, I do decide to sit tight and take it. Was more focused on getting my Shopti to start firing out the Glade Guard, because I figured shutting them down was going to be important. Fortunately, Glade Guard does not have the best performance against either shielded infantry here or against the Ushapti Greatbows, so that's going to be good. And we are going to push in to engage here. You can see the Tomb Guard are going to get stuck in against the Eternal Guard, and it's going to go very badly for the Eternal Guard, especially as we're going to drop our protective bubble here, the Liber Mortis, and these Eternal Guard definitely not going to have a good day. Obviously, Tomb Guard not doing much on the charge, but in that protracted engagement, their stellar melee defense, solid attack, and high weapon strength are going to be golden. In the meantime, Arkan as well as the gang are trying to sweep around here. I was looking to get into the back line, but then thought better of it and decided to swing over here with the Tomb Princes, because we want to interdict these Orion and his Tree Man. And you can see the Tree Man is now becoming the focus of a lot of hate from the Ushapti Greatbows. Skeleton Summon does go down from our good friend Arkan, and unfortunately I wasn't paying attention to the fact that Orion was just sniping at my boys here, and so he's getting some free javelins in, and the javelins do a lot of damage per hit. If we look here at Orion, sort of zoom in on him, we can see that Orion's missile damage is 250 AP, so he's picking off models incredibly easily, and as we retreat here, we're actually going to lose a model to one of those javelins. That said, the Tree Man gets hit by a Blade of Setep, knocking down his armor to 17, removing 22% physical resist, which makes him incredibly vulnerable to range damage. and now he's just getting completely demolished. That crossfire from all of the Ushabti Great Bows is just destroying the tree man and bringing him to heal. And in the meantime, the princes are trying to get in there. They're not really able to get in, but it doesn't really matter. And Orion being stuck in now is going to hurt him further. And my opponent didn't bring a caster, so that is definitely another sort of flaw with this strat. You always want to try to bring a caster. It's just kind of a good lesson. Regardless, the poor tree man here just completely crumbles and breaks and is going to die a horrible death by a bajillion arrows. Just toppling there amidst the grave guard, pushing some of them out of the way and knocking some over. As the Tomb Princes are kind of stuck in here, which is definitely a little unfortunate, not what you want to be doing. And in the meantime, the Ushabti switch their Tender Mercies over to Orion as a Soul Blight goes down. Now, one of the big problems here is that my opponent, well, perhaps not the best equipped to deal with the Ushabti, does have a lot of troops. And while the Tomb Guard is going to murderize these Eternal Guard, you can see they've already routed this unit, they've routed another unit over here, they're collapsing through. There's a lot of Eternal Guard to chew through. You can see my Ushabti summon is going down here in the back line. Going to be shutting down 2 units of Gladiator because my opponent was a bit clumped there. I'm trying to dodge around a little bit with Arkin, trying to avoid getting sniped. And we are hitting Orion right now with another Blade of Setep, looking to snipe him out. Obviously, Orion doesn't have built-in physical resist, but it actually looks like he doesn't get involved. It looks like the Blade of Setep just only removes physical resistance, so it doesn't actually make your opponent more vulnerable to physical attacks, which is a little unfortunate, unless it's, yeah, it looks like it doesn't. But it does remove all of his armor, makes him just a little bit more vulnerable, which is always nice. Every little bit of damage helps, and we are now making him run like hell from our Tomb Princes, as well as Arkin. And with the Goon Squad coming in, there's very little to protect Ryan. In my opinion, he should have sort of tried to duck and run in amidst the Eternal Guard. That's not going to happen. We actually killed the King in the Woods. Despite the Cloak of Isha going off and healing him and providing him with that resistance aura, he's going to be crippled there. And now things are looking a lot better for us, because over here, the Glade Guard is getting overwhelmed by our Ushabti summon. Obviously, these guys will expire eventually, but with that leadership drop from the Lord Assassination, they're going to be in a much grimmer position. The Spearmen are still holding. Obviously, it's a bit of a wet noodle contest in the front line. Eternal Guard will grind things out in the long run, but that is going to be a very long run. And in the meantime, Arkin the Black as well as the Tomb Prince here just running amok in the back line, getting in. Tomb Guard are just running through and compromising everything. And these last few pockets of Eternal Guard, sure they're active, sure they're in good shape, but they're not going to be able to hold forever. They're just getting surrounded and swamped. Unfortunately, my opponent did push through with some Eternal Guard here and is shutting down my Ushabti Great Bows, and that's definitely a bit of an issue. So I'm simply going to pack up and run. One of the cool things about Ushabti, of course, is they have 54 speed. So if infantry comes knocking on your door, you can run like hell, and they can do nothing about it. In the meantime, our Skelly Spears here are bogging down these Eternal Guard, just buying time with their undead lives, and doing a pretty good job of it. It's simply just a slow and steady slog at this point. We got to shut down as many archers as we can. Unfortunately, our Ushabti are gone at this point. The summon is gone, but I'm actually going to take these Ushabti Great Bows here and swing around the flank, bob and weave, and go after shutting down these Glade Guard, because these guys are not... They're not amazing in melee. If we look at their stats, you can see it's like 24 and 36 with a chevron. So obviously they're not like a top tier melee unit. But they're still monsters infantry with 90 armor. If they get in on these Glade Guard, they are going to dumpster them hard. So that's kind of what I was gambling on right now, trying to get these Ushabti to escape my opponent's Eternal Guard and get in on my opponent there. Meantime, another Blade of Setep does go down here, and the Tomb Prince plus 2 Ushabti are going hand-to-hand with the Eternal Guard. I hope that with the recharge these guys would break, but Eternal Guard has absolutely epic melee defense, really good leadership, and they are not breaking. So despite Curse of Jaffa and everything going down here, these guys are not running away. They actually killed multiple Ushabti Great Bows, and things are looking pretty ridiculous. This was definitely a bit of a frustrating engagement that I'd hoped to win in a much more decisive manner. Over in the meantime, Arkin plus his Tomb Prince buddy do dive in on these Eternal Guard, breaking them and freeing up another flank. While in the meantime, the Ushabti are running amok, shutting down my opponent's troops. And you can see the Glade Guard running for dear life there. While these Ushabti Great Bows closing in. Of course, Glade Guard can't fire while moving, which is a cool little perk of them. Obviously, usually doesn't come into play because they're a forward-facing archer unit like any other, or the vast majority of other archers. So you often don't really see that fire on the move happening, but in this situation you can see they're able to shoot on these Ushabti Great Bows while they're running away from my Ushabti Great Bows over here. That said, it's not going to save them. The Ushabti are going to get in there, they get the rear charge, and they're going to force a break very, very quickly. So we're able to sort of remove these troops from play over here. These Ushabti also breaking these laid out with Hagbane tips, obviously about to get pressured pretty hard by the Eternal Guard. And believe it or not, the Eternal Guard, despite being so low on models and so low on HP, it's still a threat you don't want your Ushabti fighting, because they only have 23 melee attack. They don't have much in the way of damage. 65 weapon strength really isn't that high when you think about it, and they don't have the bonus versus infantry of their dual-wielding kin. So while I'm able to remove the Hagbanes from position here, I'm simply going to be forced to kind of run away from the Eternal Guard, and I'm looking to just mop up some more of these Glade Guard. In the meantime, the last pockets of resistance are kind of being crushed at this point. Another Soul Blight does go down, as well as Blades of Step to continuously debuff and whittle down these troops. Tomb Guard has just fought tooth and nail here. It's down to 31 models, 900 HP, but I still have 107 now kills, over 100 kills in these Tomb Guard. They've been doing absolute champion work. More Tomb Guard pouring down from the hill, 109 kills on these guys, 105. They're an amazing unit against Wood Elves. I definitely would recommend bringing them as a core anchor. There's a lot of other things you can do against Wood Elves. You can do chariot plays. You can do, in the meantime over here, we did kind of mop things up. This group is finally coming back. But a Pyrrhic victory for the Tomb Kings. One thing I would definitely say as a takeaway from this match is the Tomb Guard is good. And a great anchor in this matchup. Even if you just bring a few of them, they can hold far better than... or they'll just out-trade basically everything the Wood Elves can put on the front line against you. In this situation, you can see just how well they out-traded the Eternal Guard. They were really kind of soaking up shots from enemy missiles, and provided a great screen for the Ushabti Greatbows. Ushabti Greatbows are a bit of a hit-or-miss unit, I find. They're good at countering Way Watchers. They're definitely not bad against big monsters like the Tree Man, though your opponent probably won't bring them in most cases. I think the Tree Man is just a horrible choice, to be honest. But Ushabti do give you one of your few efficient counters against Way Watchers. They also do give you some staying power against big monsters like dragons or eagles or hawks or whatever. You'll sometimes see those units, and they can definitely do well there. That said, when push comes to shove, I'm not convinced they're better than, say, a bunch of Nehekar Horsemen, because you can almost bring 2 Nehekar Horsemen for each Ushabti Greatbow you put on the field. Like the thing is, the 2 Tomb Princes and Arkan are actually very solid when it comes to beating up on large. You've got Spirit Leech from Arkan, you've got the anti-large bonus from both of the Tomb Princes, so they can really whittle down your opponent very, very efficiently in melee. So if your opponent decides to bring Durthu or some stuff like that, they can definitely do rather well. Now, perhaps you would want 1 unit of Ushabti anyway as a zoning tool, but I do think that it might be better than what I've got in this build to cut down to maybe a unit of Ushabti. And try to free up some space for some Nehekar and Horsemen. And you might have to make some cuts elsewhere as well. Maybe cut like a Blade of Setep or something. But 2 units of Nehekar and Horsemen would give you a little more backline harass, a little more massed staying power if your opponent brings Wild Riders, and that sort of thing. Regardless, we'll play to my opponent Mew for you here. My main critique of this build, obviously this is a bit gimmicky, just trying to go super wide. I don't think it's that functional. My main critique is going with a Tree Man with a majillion chevrons. You don't need that many chevrons. A Tree Man's base stats are amazing already, at least the melee attack and melee defense part of it, and chevrons don't buff anything else that matters. Leadership, good on a Tree Man. Melee defense, melee attack, stellar. You're not going to get anything else out of him by putting on chevrons on him, I think. So it's just not worth it. I think I wouldn't bring a Tree Man to begin with against Tomb Kings. I think it's just not good. But because of the Ushabti Greatbow risk, and to a lesser extent, things like Tomb Princes, Necrosphinx, that sort of thing. If your opponent does go with a wonky build, the Tree Man's going to get completely dumpstered in this sort of build. Second of all, lack of caster, which I think is a big misplay. And finally, no real staying power against monsters in this build. Obviously, maybe he's gambling on the fact that I wouldn't run monsters, but sometimes you will see Tomb King players who will bring, say, a War Sphinx or Necrosphinxes and some weird stuff like that. They'll bring Tomb Scorpions. Despite the threat of Way Watchers, especially as a player who feels confident enough in his ability to shut those units down. And this build has very little to counter that. Orion, the Tree Man's way too slow. He's not going to be able to keep up and flex around to counter those units. Glade Guard with Starfire Shaft is a great cheap budget option to counter those units. Otherwise, Wild Riders for the mass are not terrible. Way Watchers, of course, are a great choice. Hawk Riders can be used. I've actually had them used against me quite successfully. A different build that I ran with Tomb Kings, but with chariots and was trolling around, and it wasn't a complete comp. But I had Hawk Riders used pretty effectively there as a defensive tool, more as a sort of zoning tool to protect Way Watchers. So there's other options there, for sure. And but you want to bring you always want to have some answers to big stuff. Honestly, even in this situation, my opponent had basically nothing to stop my Ushabti Greatbows. Once Orion was dealt with and removed from play, there was just nothing to deal with these guys. And they were just able to go ham. They went into the back line and played light cav against Glade Guard. So Yeah, rough stuff. Regardless, well played to my opponent. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it entertaining and fun. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, any requests, don't hesitate to post them down below, and I'll do my best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.